Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
After what was the Nürburgring, an enthralling start to the season, it gets technical, it gets quick, and it is the Grand Prix of Virginia. Welcome to VIR, the Virginia International Raceway, the second round of 23. And what is crucial about today is that this is going to be about who can keep it on terra firma, because this is a fast circuit that does not forgive and does not forget any single mistake here tonight. We find ourselves 1 mile away, exactly a mile away from the border with North Carolina, and we are here in Alton, Virginia, USA, the enclave. You have to drive into North Virginia to get here to the VIR circuit, but what a circuit it is. It's a 20-turn roller coaster with thrills, spills, and you could say automobiles as well, with these fantastic Mercedes on display today. I'm Jake Sperry. Jay Kennedy will be alongside me for the ride as we will take a little view down to what makes this circuit and where we situate ourselves here today for this second round of the championship. Virginia International Raceway. You got a whole heap of US circuits on the calendar this season, but we find ourselves not a million miles away from Greensboro and Richmond, Virginia, but down over to VIR. Jay, this is a really, really fast-flowing track, and it's epitomized by the middle sector with that Jeddah feel through it, that fantastic snake up to the South Bend, and then, of course, Oak Tree Corner, this clockwise track of 3.27 miles, 5.262 kilometers. This is a really, really brilliant racetrack to drive. It is a true one-lap circuit.
100%. Hello, everyone. I'm looking forward to this. One of my favorite tracks in the world, this circuit. It's going to be brilliant with the elevation change as well, which is underrated at this circuit. We'll catch a few drivers off guard a little bit. Rather narrow in some places, but then does open up at the right points to give us some passing opportunities. 2 DRS zones as well. 1 activation point just on the entry to turn 11, with the activation zone halfway down the back straight near Madison Avenue, and also another one on the front straight as well. Very, very short pit lane, I think, is probably one of the things to take away from this as well, which means that the pit stops are going to be incredibly tight, incredibly close, and happen very, very quickly.
It is a 58-lap race today also, so there is that to keep in mind, that they are going to be having to put a number of laps around this great circuit today. They've got 8 minutes of qualifying. They are down to 2 minutes and 20 seconds as we speak, and they have to try and make the 305-kilometer distance an official FIA race distance. They have to make a stop for tyres, and they must use 2 compounds available. They have themselves, of course, the soft, the medium, and the hard compound tyre to make sure that they can fly through with their times here today. But what they will also be keeping an eye out on, Jay, is drop rounds. We haven't talked about this in terms of this championship. Yes, it's a 23 car championship, or 23 round championship, I should say. But because drivers turn up each and every week and not everyone's going to have every track, there are 4 drop rounds available. So for those who are missing, and the big 2, Ben Fuller and Matteo Ugolotti, this is not only for them a chance to take a week away, but a chance for all these drivers here to take advantage. Adam Merchant, currently the fastest driver in qualifying on a 119.4.
Yeah, I think the fact that we have drop rounds, we've seen it throughout official series for years and years and years. The fact that the drivers don't have to commit absolutely every single round is good, especially when we get into that middle phase of the season where we're racing literally every weekend for a few weekends in a row. So, you know, the fact that you can step away and not stress too much about it, I think is a real positive. Sad that we don't have our front two from last round, but that doesn't mean that the quality of field is horrible, because we've still got a really, really strong group of drivers in this race tonight. So this is going to be brilliant to watch. Bring it on.
It also means you could start at round 5 in the championship and still theoretically win it. Now, here is the former F4 driver, Emil Bernstorff, making a run to the line, and that's a 19.441, which snatches pole position away by 0.03 of a second from Adam Merchant, who has been sold short then in qualifying. What a last lap to go through, and that will be the final lap in qualifying with everybody done in terms of setting lap times. We'll get a look at the 19 drivers here today looking to put one together with qualifying all done. It is Emil Bernstorff who has the pole position at 119.442, just ahead of Adam Merchant, who lines up on the front row. Marcel Fassbender will look to start from third, and a good bounce back from Marco Sanfilippo. He'll start from 4th position. Darren Parker makes his first start of the season. He'll go from 5th, and a great qualifying by Kent Nielsen. He'll start in 6th position. Danilo Sanfilippo goes from 7th, with Walter Lux in 8th position. Anthony Catt not able to make the same performance over the course of qualifying as he did last time out. He'll go from 9th, with James Dempster rounding out the top 10. Timothy Vaughan from New Zealand goes from 11th, with Hannes Schergel in 12th position overall. That follows Craig Lager and Paul O'Regan and all UK and I, 7th row of the grid. Jason Green will start 15th, with Jordan Gronkowski struggling in qualifying. He'll have to make something happen from 16th, with Kyle Boss the last time set, leaving Brian Molitor and Tobias Saal, the last two drivers who did not set the lap time, and as such will be lined up by their iRating. It is a very, very difficult run to the opening corner here. That first corner is away from you if you are off the circuit at any moment in time. It will be worrying for these drivers, and they're going to have to hope that everyone checks it up in the opening section. But here, of all places, this is where you have to make your points count. There are your conditions out there. Partly cloudy, 72 degrees Fahrenheit, 22 and a half air temperature, track temperature of 36 degrees or 97 Fahrenheit, and the wind's gusting today. That's going to be interesting to keep in mind, that they are going to get differences in braking as they reach their sections. On the grid now goes Emil Bernstorff, who is your pole sitter, and everybody else will be looking behind. Just the one driver to wait for, which is Brian Molitor, the number 13 in 18th position. But he won't take the grid because we got the green flag in the air, and we are underway here at VIR. Bernstorff bogging down in the middle already, which leaves to the outside Adam Merchant. Fassbender trying to find a way through, but he's off the road, and so too he's going to be joined then by Merchant, who is off the road as well. So two drivers in trouble early on, and this is what we expect. A circuit that is incredibly difficult to get through. A bit of too wide through the middle. Anthony Catt, Craig Lager, Jordan Gronkowski trying to make positions here through the left hook of this fantastic section of track, through the right hook and into the snake for the first time. And with a few dramas at the front, Bernstorff leads, Parker second, Marco Sanfilippo up to third.
Messy start there. Fassbender looked to get away very, very quickly and very, very easily, but just couldn't quite get it away. He'll be devastated with that. But have a look at the lead that Bernstorff's already done. He's already taken a second, so great start from him. But the Sanfilippos have been struggling a little bit. They haven't quite had the performance we'd expect, as I just see a car around in the background. Jason Green, he's up against the wall. That's heavy damage.
That'll be suspension, and that might be Jason Green's race over. He had a horror show last time we were with you at the Nürburgring, and it didn't quite get ideal. Down the hill at the roller coaster for the first time. That's going to be one of the prime places to get it done. And you notice here at the front of the field, these drivers, Marco Sanfilippo, Darren Parker, Emil Bernstorff, why the first 3 laps of the race is so important, Jay, as you look through DRS, the drag reduction system, that rear wing flap that opens up, gives you about 80 brake horsepower. You don't get that aid to overtake until lap 3, and you need to be within 1 second to use it.
Yeah, so basically the first 2.5 laps, it's not available. So with where the activation point is at this track. The second, or the end of the second lap, you cross the activation point for the one down the front straight. So that one doesn't activate until the end of lap 3. So you're safe for the first 2.5 laps up until that big long back straight. So Bernstorff's really got to start to break away. He's dropped back below a second again as Darren Parker starts to close that gap back down.
That's going to be crucial in terms of how you charge through. Emil Bernstorff, though, has that real-world racing experience, drove in Formula 4, Formula 3 Euro as well. He's had that opportunities to go out there and really show what he's made of. Someone like Darren Parker with the number 17 on the car, which means he's got the 3rd lowest iRating in the field. He's got to go out there and prove what he's worth on the brakes there. The small flick left is going to be the key to the roller coaster because it really will drop the pace. And it is getting interesting as well. Just behind for 4th and 5th, Ken Nielsen is going to be a driver under pressure on this next lap because Walter Lux, the Austrian, is very much in the range at this point in time.
Yeah, the one advantage that Kent will have as DRS is now enabled is that he still is in DRS range himself. So while he will feel that pressure from behind, he has got a slight advantage in that he can still use the DRS himself and potentially pull back away. So that'll be interesting to see over the next couple of moments. James Dempster also feeling a bit of pressure from Gronkowski just behind him.
Yeah, so Jordan Gronkowski, who didn't get the best qualifying, get this, 2 laps, 8 places. He has flown off the start of this race and will only be looking to fly further forward. Dempster gets on the radio. I'm not sure he really wants to have an argument and a fight about it with Jordan Gronkowski when they reach Madison Avenue. And look at this snaking section of track up the hill. This beautiful left-hand south bend is so committed and full of G-force as you go through. And then up to the old oak tree corner. No oak tree there anymore, but it does open up the line of sight for drivers.
Yeah, exactly right. It's without the tree there, it actually feels like a completely different corner, even though there's been no change to how the corner does behave. So
a change.
Ooh,
Marco Sanfilippo.
Yeah, Sanfilippo's lost a spot, and James Dempster's through as well.
So Dempster maybe was thinking about defence, suddenly goes on the attack. Both Sanfilippo brothers from Palermo in Italy losing out a place, then Dempster through, Ken Nielsen through. And it was so shocking to see just how much time was gained by Kent Nielsen. Marco Sanfilippo was stuck at 278, 279 kilometers an hour on the straight, which indicates high downforce troubles for Dempster. There will go through Gronkowski. He'll fantastically take that place.
It's an uncharacteristic error there, isn't it? From drivers into turn 1. I guess what we were saying before, the wind is really going to play an impact in this race. I don't think a lot of people realise how much the wind can play a factor in these cars. We're going to have a quick look, though, at what happened to Fassbender at the start of the race, because speaking of uncharacteristic errors, that was definitely one from him.
Yeah, Marcel Fassbender, number 1 on the car. You would expect him to be up there at mistake 3, but here is the start. As we see, it was sunny conditions, then the cloud cover came over. He's looking for that first braking zone. He's looking to be aggressive. He just outshoots himself by about 5-10 meters as round goes Merchant, and then trying to scrabble to get it back. He just about avoids the barriers there. He had to do the slowest turn ever as he's just made the pass on Paula Reagan, it looks like, for a position. So that will move him up into 15th then with that pass. But there is a look at Anthony Catt in 8th position overall at this stage, and he's just made the move on to Neo Sanfilippo, which makes me wonder just how much high downforce the Sanfilippo brothers have gone for here today.
Well, the other thing we haven't talked about yet is tyre compounds. We've got a few drivers that are actually started on the hard compound tyres, including Anthony Catt. So that's a little surprising. So we've got Catt, Sal, O'Regan, Scholl and Molitor all on hards. The only drivers on softs are Gronkowski and Walter Lux. Everyone else is on the medium compound tyre, which is probably the preferred tyre for race conditions. But yeah, surprised to see that hards are looking like a legitimate option, because Anthony Catt is up a place and he did get the move done on Sanfilippo that previous lap.
He did, so you can definitely sense that there is a pace level out there from Anthony Catt, who often does find himself doing an alternative strategy compared to other drivers around him, and it normally pays off for someone like Anthony Catt in this race. Behind that, the 3-car train of Craig Lager, Timothy Vaughan, and the recovering Adam Merchant will want to try and get in on this. A 5-car train at the moment, and you'll be searching for the best possible line under braking to go and make those moves, as through will go Adam Merchant, and no arguments from Timothy Vaughan. He had nothing for him.
Yep, no point fighting as well at this point of the race. It's way too early. Still finding your feet. You're still working out who you can battle with and how the race is going to play out. Here comes another move. This is soft versus medium tyre. No, not quite yet. Walter Lux trying to get through on Kent Nielsen, who's had a very, very good start to this race as well.
It's important for Walter Lux to make this move early so he can use the soft compound tyre as much as he possibly can. Oh, that's an excursion there for Kyle Boss, the American from Club Michigan, finding out just what makes this track difficult at the hog pen corner.
He's had an off on the previous lap as well. I was actually trying to find a replay at the exact same point, and that popped up just as he did that. But have a look at this. This is commitment. This is trying to gain time when you've had a bit of a shocker. You're trying to gain time back as quick as you can. I think the difference in light from the start of the race. It's pushing a little bit too hard. I'll tell you what, not a bad save though. He got it back straight relatively quickly.
Oh, let's go back to Walter Lux, though, and try and go back live, because Jordan Gronkowski finds himself side by side down Madison Avenue. Lap 6 here of 58. He might get himself boxed in, though. He's trying to make himself get some room. Let's go 3 wide, under braking as they go through. Brilliant stuff by Gronkowski. He gets 2 for the price of 1 on the straight. Lux stays behind Kent Nielsen. That takes bravery from Gronk.
That is absolutely crazy that he got that move done, because there is no way you should normally get through. Walter Lux still with the momentum. That's the soft compound tyre for Lux. The sun comes back out. Track conditions are going to change again. Make it difficult for drivers out there to adjust.
Oh, Gronk's off.
Oh,
Jordan
no.
Gronkowski off the road at turn 1, just as you said it, Jay.
It's this is I don't know if that's commentator's curse or what. That's just crazy that we've seen so many incidents. Adam Merchant off as well. That's at the end of the roller coaster, is it?
That's at turn 1 as
Turn
well.
1 as well, yeah.
That's Sal and Fastbender, and there goes Sal. Round he goes, grabs the grass. Melito's also gone off. Sal's backed it into the tyres, which might have damaged the rear wing and the rear suspension, so that might be troubles there. There's no fast repairs in this series. So just like that, you're going to have to keep one eye on the weather radar, so to speak, to get this race into position. Worth noting as well that the gap is fluctuating at the front. Emil Bernstorff definitely has a turn of pace compared to Darren Parker. Difference is Bernstorff has had 1 slowdown penalty already in this race, which is why the gap at around lap 3 went from 2 seconds down to 1 second, as here comes Walter Lux. He's not going to sit by and wait for long. He wants to move up into 3rd position, and he makes the pass and comfortably manages it as well. But as we take a look then at what happened here with Tobias Sal, you can see he gets caught on the outside and he just grabs a tyre in the grass. And that's why some drivers didn't want to race today, because that's the difference between being in the race and being out. Literally pixels.
Yep, nothing in it. Unfortunate incident, but that's part of racing sometimes, the millimetre between having pace and facing the wrong direction. Same in real world, same in sim racing. That 1 extra millimetre, that 1 extra centimetre you're fighting for and trying to find will be the difference between winning and losing.
Yep, that's a big difference maker here, and you certainly do notice that on board with Marcel Fassbender in 13th position at this moment in time, racing with Adam Merchant. Now, it'll be interesting to see how these two race amongst each other, seeing what happened on lap 1, and Merchant maybe didn't have any places to go. This is where you really get that feel of the dirty air effect there, just coming through the snake section to start, and then these lefts and rights. This is where you rely on the high downforce of the vehicle, having the car planted through this section of track, and then this south bend. God, it's so committed in these cars. You can see 2 tyres dipped off in the grass. It's very scary for Marcel Fassbender. They only have here today, Jay, of course, the 17 instant points before they get a drive-through penalty, and then it's every 8 instant points afterwards.
Yeah, and that'll come up very, very quickly and easily too. So you've got to be careful. You've got to keep them almost in the bank. Have a look at the momentum he's got. Not quite close enough at the exit of Oak Tree to be able to get it done, but definitely he's got some pace in that car. You'll be just devastated that he made that error early on. DRS light comes back on. You see the green light on the dash. 2 lights means it's available. 4 lights means that the DRS is open. Won't be close enough, but I'll tell you what, there has been a move. Kent Nielsen now back behind James Dempster again.
Yep, so James Dempster then making the move. The number 8 car getting it done at turn 1, the prime place to make it happen. He did it really through the mid to late part because Kent Nielsen ever so slightly outbroke himself through the corner. And we're going to see quite a bit of that, a bit of gauging where you can brake, not only down to the wind conditions today, but also how much tyre life you have left. So this is Dempster. He's getting close. He pivots to look to the inside. Kent Nielsen, though, just misses the apex by about a half a car width. And just like that, James Dempster gets a freebie.
Wondering if Kent Nielsen probably looked in his mirrors a little bit and then just locked the inside front, which then caused him to go a little bit wide. I think he probably was worried that Dempster was going to throw it up the inside and maybe force something that wasn't quite there. I don't think he was going to, but then goes, well, I've forced an error, now I can go through. So a good bit of driving there from Dempster to apply enough pressure to force an error.
Yeah, good bit of driving, and that's what we like to see. Drivers trying to work with the tools that they have available to them. Craig Lager under, look at this duress. Timothy Vaughan desperately wants to get through because they have hemorrhaged a lot of time to Jordan Gronkowski over the course of this lap, who's just gone through on Danilo Sanfilippo for position. And that a pass then to move Gronkowski back up into 8th place. And you can see here that the position made, yes, by Craig Lager. Look, that's from a long way back on the straight. And this just shows you and highlights the difference between downforce philosophy here today. Drivers are catching well over half a second on the straights.
It's huge, the difference. I'm surprised how much of a difference there is. I'm sure that drivers out there are probably, I mean, I'm sure they've tested, but that's looks like it's a retirement there because you can see yeah, he's out of the car, so it's unfortunate to see. James Dempster's closing in on Walter Lux. Last lap by half a second. So we saw Lux break away when he got past Kent Nielsen. That gap's closed back down very, very quickly. The soft tyres may be already starting to struggle there for Walter Lux.
1:24.6 last lap from Walter Lux. It was a 24.1 by James Dempster. We're only on lap 10 here of 58, which indicates most likely here for Walter Lux, maybe medium two-stop strategy here today, or you're going to have to bank on the hard tyre lasting a very, very long time, but you don't have guarantees on how long that goes for a one-stop. So you're pretty much rolling the dice here, lap 11, if the tyres are already starting to go, and how long do you want to suffer, essentially, at this stage, knowing you've got fast drivers then behind you, and on top of that, Jay, you at the moment have the track position. Speaking of track position, here's Timothy Vaughan trying to get it done here at turn 2 into the NASCAR bend. Thank you very much, Craig Lager. Well, you have to sit back and have a drink and watch that because that was textbook.
Wasn't as easy as you think, Sperry. Have a look at this. So he's had to go the long way around at turn 1. Almost got it done. Lager will come back and then he'll get it done and right at the end of the corner.
Yep, so getting it around the outside. At turn 2, though, is where he seals the deal, though. Through the left. Don't want to fight it too wide just yet. No reason to risk the race at this point. And then just flicking through. Thank you very much. But that group now is joined by the likes of Merchant and Fastbender. So that's going to be worth keeping an eye out on. Here is Dempster, though. Close to Walter Lux. Not going to push the boat out just yet. Still a lot of time remaining in this race. But you'd think sooner rather than later James Dempster would want to try and find that move. Speaking of moves, there goes Adam Merchant sailing through on Craig Lager and making a good transaction up into what is now the top 10.
Yeah, and Fastbender there ready to pounce as well. Back to that tyre conversation we were just having before around Walter Lux. Looking at the pace that Anthony Catt has, the hard compound tyre is not a bad option. So he may be able to go soft hard. That may be what he's thinking at the moment is soft hard.
Oh, Merchant
and Fastbender.
Fastbender again. Both of them off again. And they're both going to find themselves in. Fortunately, Merchant's found reverse. Fastbender will find reverse and get themselves going. But both of them off, same time, but this time 2 separate incidents for the pair.
That's crazy. How many times have we seen drivers go off at turn 1? Now, wind, I'm guessing they've got a tailwind down the front straight. I'm not 100% sure on my directions here from the west. I'd have to go and find a map, but is that... Oh, I've got a map right here. What am I talking about? Is that a tailwind down the front straight? I've got to remember my never eat soggy wheat bix to remember my north, south, east, west.
Well, I do believe with the way that the track is oriented that, in fact, it will be a crosswind on the front stretch.
Crosswind.
So that will be really interesting because it will be crosswind to tailwind by the time they turn in for the opening corner, which will be pretty much a nightmare as they go through. So that's what they're going to have to be trying to manage and navigate at this moment in time. So keep that in the back of the mind as drivers now look for their braking zones and try and get through the opening corners. Brilliant stuff at the moment, though. Lux holding Dempster and Nielsen at bay. Marco Sanfilippo, though, has been looking nothing but backwards all race long. Jordan Gronkowski, by the way, 23.6 over that last lap, is the fastest driver on track.
Got some great pace at the moment, doesn't he? He's fastest lap that he did a few laps ago is the fastest lap of the race, and on soft tyres and still got pace. So you compare that to Walter Lux, who looks like he's starting to struggle a little bit on the softs. Gronkowski's making the softs work for him. So it comes back to what you were talking about before, philosophy on downforce, philosophy on setup to make the tyres survive as well is another thing. And this is now turning into a hard versus soft battle. We're going to see the difference on 12-lap-old hard and soft tyres.
Well, you could just sense how much Anthony Catt was scrabbling around for any form of grip coming up onto Madison Avenue. Marco Sanfilippo, though, is going to be a big difference maker. One goes by, two goes by. Look how much he struggles in a straight line. Through goes Gronk, through goes Catt, and both of them now off to continue their race. And that was a huge let-off for Anthony Catt because that effectively gave him the free pass and saves him for a lap against Gronkowski.
Yeah, exactly right. Now, while we've been watching this too, developments in the pits, Marcel Fassbender has decided to come in. Adam Merchant has decided to come in. They've both now gone to hard compound tyres. The reason they've come in, damaged the front wing on that incident that we saw where they ran off at turn 1.
Yeah, don't blame them. That's a good decision. They're going to have to bite the bullet, change the strategy, and make something happen, those two, as Merchant is actually through on Marcel Fassbender, so that's a change out on circuit between them. On board with Gronkowski, what a fantastic shot this is, and it just shows you just how much work the suspension has to do through this section, because it's bumpy, and you're always trying to rely on having the most grip possible. Look at the flick left, and you can see just how much work the tyre has to do.
It's an amazing section of road. This track's just incredible. And there goes Catt and Gronkowski through. Yeah, I'm actually very impressed with this drive from Anthony Catt. Not that he doesn't have pace, but he's making the hard tyre competitive with those around him in soft and mediums. He's making it work a lot better than I think almost anyone would have expected. I mean, he's obviously done enough practice to understand the tyre behaviour and tyre life, but I wouldn't have thought at the start of this race that we'd see a hard compound tyre actually do something that works very, very well. As guess what? Guess who? Guess where? Turn 1? Merchant.
And it's on the exit of turn 1 as well, which is a very weird place to have an incident like that. It was just going up through the gears and the car spools up and snapped on him, which is a really weird one. It puts him a lap down in this race, but I think that deserves a second look here, Jay. We'll take a look then with the SimSpeed TV replay. This is how quickly the car can go around. You think it's easy, you can just put the throttle on the exit. Nope, round it goes.
I'm going to guess too that's hard tyres not quite up to working optimum temperature, and he's pushed a tiny little bit too hard. Before that too, you notice that Fassbender was back through already too, so while he did get it done, he'd already lost the spot back.
He certainly has. Lap 15 here of 58. Emil Bernstorff leads by a margin of 6.7 seconds out there over Darren Parker in second. Walter Lux is in third and is managing to hold off a certain Mr. James Dempster in fourth position, who is keeping Walter Lux honest at this point. Kent Nielsen is in fifth with Anthony Catt in sixth ahead of Jordan Gronkowski, Marco, then Danilo Sanfilippo eighth and ninth. And Timothy Vaughan has just lost the top 10 position because Craig Lager has just made the move.
Nearly need a counter on how many times these guys are going to change positions. That'll be the, fifth or sixth time that they've changed position this race so far. So great to see a battle back in the lower parts of the top 10, or for a top 10 position, where there's lots of chopping and changing for position. I think we're going to see these guys go at it all the way to the race end.
I think they will also. They're very similar in terms of pace. They've got the same tyres available to them as well, both on the yellow-walled medium compound tyres, so they're going to be due in the pits at somewhat a similar time as well. So they'll certainly be looking around and trying to shop for where is the right time to make their pit stop happen. So that's going to be a focus. They go up through this section. It's very difficult to get a run towards the oak tree just because you're dealing with that dirty air, those turbulences. And it's a lot better than F1 cars of previous times, but the W13 Mercedes AMG is one of those machines where you are really relying on staying close, staying within range, using that ground effect.
Exactly right. You're trying to use everything you've got to maintain your pace as well. You see the light coming on, just a bit of harvesting of energy. And Craig Lager, while he can, he's got no pressure behind, might as well try and conserve a little bit. Just also seen off camera that we've had a couple of drivers having some issues, but this is big. This is big. 16 laps is all he got.
His tyres were just starting to go, and as such, he found himself in trouble. Now, what will he go on to? The yellow wall medium compound tyres is the answer, and so Gronkowski, I think, is determined to get a two-stop strategy in the books. Now, here is a little issue out on circuit there, and the back, whoa, swapping around. That's a big hit into the barriers as well, and that might have been Hannes Schlegel. Yes, it was the Austrian. So Schlegel finding troubles. We'll definitely have to dive into the pits, and we'll see just how bad the damage is.
Yeah, there could be a little bit of suspension damage there, but I'm sure he's probably hurt the heart as much as anything else. He'll be heartbroken from that. You notice that this is not a three-car battle that we're watching here. This is Adam Merchant in amongst Kent Nielsen and Anthony Catt. So these guys.
That's Carl Block, actually.
Oh yeah, it is too. Sorry, because Merchant's got the purple Mercedes livery, and Boss has got the pink. So I should have worked that out. Schogel's still stopped as well, so he's got around a fair bit more damage going on. Dempster still hasn't got back through on Walter Lux as well, considering he's on those mediums, which we saw from Gronkowski. The softs obviously starting to go. But in saying that, we said from Walter Lux that his softs were going about 10 laps ago, but he's still maintaining the same pace he had.
Yeah, it's almost like they've plateaued a little bit, and Walter Lux has found something which gives him some confidence. This is the view from the rear wing then of Kent Nielsen. You can see then through that right hook section entering the snake just how you gain that time. You gain 3/10 of a second just by being the car in front through there, under the entrance to the circuit, and now through the flicks and the rights and lefts. Kent Nielsen flying through this section. You're so reliant on the downforce, and then down the hill, back up the hill on the braking zone, and that is a tough corner there, that right just before the oak tree. You have to learn the most difficult, I think, phase of all of racing, the turn and brake at the same time.
It's something some drivers are great at and something some drivers are absolutely hopeless at, but that's probably why you and I are in the comms box, Barry.
It's absolutely the reason why we're both in the comms box. I can't turn and brake to save my cotton socks.
I can't
so
do
let's
either.
have a little look then at this. So this is Marcel Fassbender, once again looking to try and put the move on Adam Merchant, and he gets that done nicely sorted in towards the opening corner. Now, it's not the end of the world here for Marcel Fassbender if he doesn't get the result he wants, with Emil Bernstorff leading this race by almost 10 seconds now at the front of the field, because he does have the two other races that will be going on Sunday to try and bolster back up his scores. But of course, strength of field traditionally has been a little bit lower in there, so he'll be scoring less points if he can find a good result there.
Winning those races versus a poor finish at this, though, still much better points. And I mean, not everyone's going to finish at the pointy end each and every round. So he's got a lot to still go forward for the rest of the championship season. There's a lot left in this race too. James Dempster's looking very, very strong, isn't he? He's looking like he's now found something more in the car, or whether it's Walter Lux is starting to drop off again. Saying that just on cue, right on cue, he starts to break away again.
I'll say that. Walter Lux isn't going to have enough, really. He's harvesting energy. Dempster's thinking about the move. He's not going to go for it. But Look at the gap now between Lux and Darren Parker. That gap has come down and is now sitting at around 3 seconds. Last time by, Parker lost 0.4 of a second to Lux, who dives into the pits then and will get rid of his soft compound tyres on lap 19.
We saw Gronkowski in 4 laps ago, so it could be enough to maybe make the strategy work better for him later on in the race. Gronkowski's gone to mediums. We're not sure how far they will go. We've got 4 drivers out on track at the moment on hard compound tyres. Of course, Anthony Catt, we said earlier on, he's doing a great job making them work. Paul O'Regan, Marcel Fassbender and Adam Merchant also on the hard compound tyre.
Oh, look at where Lux has come out. Look at where Lux has come out. Right with Jordan Gronkowski. That's big. Paul O'Regan dispatched with. It's Timothy Vaughan just in front, but that is a huge moment in this race. Gronkowski's effectively driven himself into the podium battle.
Well, that's a long stop for Lux, isn't it? 5.5 seconds. We usually see between 4 and 4.5, so he's lost a second there. But in saying that, the pit lane transit time is quicker than Gronkowski.
Yeah, he's quicker in that sense. So I think Gronkowski had a really slow lane time, struggled to get it down on the limiter, and as such, lost quite a bit of time there. So Walter Lux, I think right now is going to be in a race. He's got 4 lap better tyres. And speaking of troubles out there, that's Kent Nielsen in trouble then. And that at the hog pen. At the roller coaster even.
Yeah, I think he's just outbroke himself there, I think. So
he's just dropped it.
Yeah. He has. He actually didn't have any pressure from behind for a change, and he's just missed the apex and then locked the front, couldn't turn it anymore, and had to go abandon stage right.
Yeah, that's as simple as that, really. One small mistake, the pressure just alleviated slightly, and then the issues turn up. Now, I am interested to see what sort of times Jordan Gronkowski and co are doing. 23.8 from Gronkowski, just behind Walter Lux. It's currently 0.3 quicker than the race leader. Is running a second a lap quicker than second place Darren Parker. Parker might be at risk here of losing a podium position at this point if he doesn't pit within the next couple of laps. But then again, we don't quite know what the life cycle's like on the mediums, how long they're going to go. And if it goes to about 26, 27, and okay, that's fine, we'll go medium hard, that's okay. If you can stretch it out to, lap 35, that's going to be a long stint, A, for one, and B, you allow yourself the option of the soft tyre. So I think it's a case of 1 stop versus 2 stop. These drivers are being quick now because they probably have to 2 stop this race with another set of mediums.
Yeah, which Anthony Catt's strategy is starting on the hards, then plays into his own, doesn't it? It now looks like an even better call because he's going to eliminate 1 pit stop if that's what's happening. I mean, we could be completely surprised and the mediums do last 40 laps, but I can't see them lasting 40 laps when we're only seeing 15 to 20 out of the soft. It usually, an extra, 50%, 60% of the soft tyre is usually the medium tyre length. So that puts us at 30 to 35, doesn't it? So it doesn't quite add up. At least in my calculations, I could be completely wrong. There's Timothy Vaughan off at the final corner and he saves it, just held on. But that would have been a scary moment for him.
Would have been. It was half a car width out of line, and that was enough to send him about 5 to 10 car lengths off the circuit, which just goes to show you that this track is difficult. And here's why. Look at the camber down the hill. The track pitches away pretty much everywhere. It's like racing on a dinner plate upside down.
Racing on a dinner plate upside down? I mean, I get the concept, but I don't know what sort of car you'd race on a dinner plate with. You have to get those old micro machines from when we were kids.
Oh, yeah. Gotta love Micro Machines. That was amazing at the time, wasn't it? Micro Machines was great. Look. Still, though, there are Craig Lager and now Danilo Sanfilippo. And I am surprised to see how much they are struggling out there. 3:12 on the straight for Craig Lager. 2:79 for Danilo Sanfilippo at the braking zone. That is massive in terms of difference on a straight.
So top speeds for the entire race. Bernstoff 3:10, that's no surprise considering he hasn't had DRS at all. Fastest overall is Jordan Gronkowski, 3:27. But the highest speed for Danilo Sanfilippo this entire race is 305 kilometers an hour. That's all. 305. He's just got no top end. He's got no straight line speed. The car looks great through the corners. It looks great through the twisty bits, but he just leaves himself so open down the back straight.
It's telling. I think it's rather telling at this moment in the race that, okay, I've got a car that will get me home to the end of the race, but what are you sacrificing? Look how much time is being sacrificed. They're already a pit stop, nearly 2 pit stops behind the race leader, Emil Bernstorff, a pit stop off of the podium, and this comes from a group of drivers who you would have said about 2 years ago, the Sanfilippo brothers were on track to dominate this iRacing Grand Prix Tour the same way you could say Michael and Ralf Schumacher dominated in terms of the early 2000s of Formula One.
Very different cars to the previous generation, though. So we've seen the difference in the real world between the W12 and the W13. Of course, now running the W13 in the iRacing series. So, you know, just the slight adjustments, the slight differences in the cars from the old model and the new model. That looks like it's just enough to not sit as nicely with the Sanfilippo brothers as it did in the previous generation of cars, or even back to the McLaren and Williams.
No, that's very, very true. And you talk about drivers who are quicker in the Williams. Someone last week who was absolutely electric, and that was Ben Fuller. But for the moment, Danilo Sanfilippo, it's just -1 so far for the day, down in 8th place at the moment. We'll be looking behind at Jordan Gronkowski, who just did a 22.9, by the way, on his last lap, which was, get this, in terms of pace to Danilo Sanfilippo. 22.9 compared to a 25.9. 3 seconds quicker, that's Marco Sanfilippo.
Wow, Marco off the circuit. He's got damage.
He's in the wall.
Yeah,
he was in the wall.
Yep. That's mechanical black flag. He is done.
Oh, and it's just coming on to the snake as well. And you start sensing for Marco, this is not a season that's going well. And that was not what you want going through that section. It is one of the most inauspicious places to have an accident, but one which has certainly changed his opportunities here today from VII. Can sense then going through then at turn 3 there, the NASCAR bend, then into the left hook. It's coming out to the right hook. How far over does he go? Grabs a little bit of the curb, and then the car just snaps.
Oh.
He tries to save it, and that is a hefty, hefty shunt into the black tyres there on the inside of the circuit.
Have a look at that front tyre. You can see how damaged that front wheel is, and that's why the car wasn't behaving as it should. So heartbreaking. You were saying before about Ben Fuller. Shout out to Ben Fuller, who's joined us in the YouTube chat, saying hello. Not out on track with some other focuses this weekend. Of course, the Sebring 12 hour this weekend on iRacing. Or in real world this weekend, isn't it? I think, yeah.
Oh, Adam Merchant's just gone off, and he's in the wall.
Oh, no.
So Adam Merchant, that's a big one. That's up at the oak tree.
Yeah, he's hit the wall very, very hard, and front wheel's damaged there. So, wow. I think you get yourself a top 10 if you can just keep yourself out of trouble here the way this is going.
Absolutely. This has been a tough race. We've already seen, I believe, 7 retirees then from this race. And that is a massive, massive number. We've lost Jason Green, Tobias Sal, Brian Molito, Hannes Schlergel, Kyle Boss 6 laps down. And now Adam Merchant joins Marco Sanfilippo up the hill. Too much speed carried. And at that point, you're a passenger. There's no way you can save it. Look at that. Wheel is completely off of the suspension. That is a heavy, heavy bill where it's not virtual.
There's another one.
Oh, no. So Timothy Vaughan off the road. It pitches so heavily there. Bang. Gone.
He's out as well. So we're now left with 11 drivers out on track.
11 left. And they are going, but no such worries for Emil Bernstorff out at the front of the field. 13.6 seconds right now, the margin at the front, and flying about with, I wouldn't say reckless abandon, but with a calm poise and collective at this point, with Marcel Fassbender in tow. Now, this is an interesting one right now between Fassbender and Bernstorff, because Bernstorff technically, knowing that Marcel Fassbender's got equal pace at this stage of the race with new hards compared to the old mediums that Bernstorff's running, he can effectively chop and change and use drafting mechanics to get himself some more pace in the field. Oh, Danilo's gone.
I was just about to say we've lost another. Danilo
Same place as
Sanfilippo's
Marco.
out. So this is wow. Wow. What's going on out there?
They've hit the tough point on the tyres. That's what's done it.
You notice all of the ones that we've lost in the last little bit have all been medium tyre runners too.
Yeah, look at this. I'm just going to get over the curb. Car snaps in the fence. Not much you can do about that. Danilo Sanfilippo taken for a ride. And right now, there are just 10 drivers left then in this race. And it is really proving that VIR is a race of attrition here today. And this will be helping this driver, number one, Marcel Fassbender, who, of course, has had 2 offs today, one on the opening lap, one just through the mid part of his opening stint. And that's going to be big. Craig Largado comes in, one of the first medium runners to make a pit stop.
Yeah, I think he's seen what's going on around him. He's gone, no, I don't want any part of that. I want to get out of this. Don't want these tyres to end up putting me in the wall. Fassbender out there on the hard compound tyre. Larga's gone back out on soft, so he's going to go medium, soft, medium, I would guess.
Medium, soft, an option.
Yeah, possibly medium, soft, soft. We're almost at the halfway point. So, yeah, I think you might be right. He might go medium, soft, soft. And the soft tyre, we've seen it's got good pace, and then the pace just disappears very, very quickly. So as long as you can get it to the point where you don't lose that edge, I think you'll be okay.
Well, something just to keep an eye on is the charging pace of Jordan Gronkowski as we focus on board with your race leader, Emil Bernstorff, at this moment. Lap 28 of 58, 31 laps to go here at the Grand Prix of Virginia, here at VIR, the Virginia International Raceway. And for Emil Bernstorff, this is a kickstart to the season that he has certainly been looking for, a commanding lead at the front over Darren Parker and James Dempster. But keep an eye on Jordan Gronkowski. He is closing down Kent Nielsen right now. In that last lap, he took 1.4 seconds out of him as Nielsen potters about.
Got a lot of drivers that have really dropped off in their pace recently, but I just also noticed Anthony Catt just set or equaled his fastest lap of the race on lap 28 or lap 27. So the hard tyre looks like it is starting to come into its own for Anthony Catt. Paulo Regan and Marcel Fassbender are obviously on the hard as well. So don't be surprised to see their pace improve over the next little bit.
And it's such a stark contrast from what we saw at the opening round at the Nürburgring, where the hard compound tyre was an absolute no-go. And it just goes to show you that different circuits have that different elements of wear, and sometimes it takes a little bit more to get a tyre into a temperature, into a window, or maybe into an operating scenario. I think it's been a lot easier to use that hard compound tyre here around VIR than it has done at maybe some other circuits. Look at that gap. It was 1.7 going on to it. It's now well within a second here. Jordan Gronkowski is flying right now on the mediums.
Yeah, and he's got DRS as well now. So this is newer mediums versus race starting mediums. They start the halfway lap of the race. 13 lap old tyres for Gronkowski. 29 lap old tyres now for Kent Nielsen. And within a lap and a half, he's gained 1.4 seconds and will probably get the move done, you would think, very, very quickly. Walter Lux, though, has the fastest lap of the race, I've just noticed. So we said before that Gronkowski had it, but now Walter Lux has the fastest lap.
Yeah, 123.13. Well, it was going to be a 123.135, but Gronkowski's fastest lap, in fact,
22.
is a 122.3. So that is Gronkowski's fastest lap. Yep, 1 second almost quicker is Jordan Gronkowski. He is absolute dynamite at this point. Up the hill then, looking for the brakes then, heading through the oak tree. And look at this from Gronkowski. Look how much more he can take out of the corner. He'll struggle on the exit on that very, very important curb on the outside. Now, they've extended that curb in a little bit, made a whole heap of runoff there on the outside to go for, and it really hurts with the grip. Still won't matter though here. Heading to the roller coaster, Gronkowski, so good late stage, slightly struggles to keep the car pointed on the island, but he gets the move done.
Top speed at the point of overtake there was around about 25 kilometers an hour difference between Gronkowski and Nielsen. So DRS is a huge, huge difference. And also just finally got a bit of a track map up and looking at the wind. It is a headwind coming into turn one. So That probably explains why we've seen the errors at turn 1, where drivers are probably compensating for a bit too much wind. The other thing to note too is the track temperature's increased around about 10 degrees Celsius since the race start.
Yeah, so that's going to fluctuate a bit, and we've got a nice bit of sunshine here coming up to 2 o'clock in the afternoon in sim time. So it is at that stage of the race where you got the sun really beating down. You're trying to get what you want. Now, Craig Lager's coming in again for another
3 laps
pit
ago.
stop. So that would indicate then your troubles, because he's had an issue at the oak tree.
Yeah, he's got a black flag, and look at who's coming behind him. That is our race leader in the pits.
Yep, so end of lap 30 then. Emil Bernstorff will come in and make his pit stop. Now for Darren Parker, he will stay out and look to try and take a lap lead in this race, and will do so in the number 17, and will do so fantastically. Now Bernstorff, what tires does he go on? He goes for a one stop. It's the white wall hard compound tire, so a medium hard. It's going to be interesting. Anthony Katz's going to get out ahead, which is going to be crucial for Anthony Katz's race. And that gives you a small indication of where Anthony Katz could possibly be. Maybe looking at a hard medium for a run on a one stop. Alternatively, he's got a chance for the soft, as in comes Kent Nielsen.
Yeah, I think we could see Anthony Katz go hard soft here. I think if he can... Well, I mean, his pace hasn't dropped off at all. So if he can push it another 10 laps, he should be okay to get the softs to work. So there we go. Kent Nielsen's going medium soft. Is he going... He's going to have to come back in for another stop, you would guess.
That's a long...
Yeah.
That's what, 27 laps on a set of soft
28
tyres?
laps. Yeah, that's going to be tough. I mean, he could
I'm just wincing. He could. I'm wincing at the thought of it, though.
Yeah,
those are going to be... They're going to be screaming in agony by the end of the race. That much we certainly know at this point. There is your leader, Darren Parker. 3 seconds the margin over James Dempster. Hasn't really changed much over the last 15 laps. They've plateaued. They found an even keel of pace between them. Anthony Katz currently in 3rd position, but watch out behind, as there is Emil Bernstorff. In comes Darren Parker then. Outstays James Dempster for another lap. Expect Anthony Katz to stay out. Bernstorff is probably going to have to make an overtake on circuit, something he hasn't had to do all race long.
Yeah, you would guess. I mean, in saying that, he hasn't closed up within DRS range yet. 1.3 seconds at the moment, so he'll try and close it down in a couple of moments. But Darren Parker, you did say that Gronkowski potentially has the opportunity to steal a podium away. There goes Gronkowski and Lux through on Darren Parker, as Parker comes out also on the soft tyre.
That's quite interesting there. So Parker might be trying to extend this one. He's got 7 seconds to chase down Jordan Gronkowski here in this race. And while Darren Parker knows that he's in for a long race at this point, on board with Emil Bernstorff, then looking to really try and drive through. Watch for that light on the dash. They're going to be coming up to the activation point shortly. And the answer to that then is passed, and he's not got it. So he wasn't within a second of Anthony Katz coming onto Madison Avenue here on lap 32 of 58. But the question is going to be, how quickly can he dispatch with number 5, considering that the rest of this race, he's only got a 10-second margin here over Jordan Gronkowski, who would be his effective next challenger in this race.
Look at the gain that he just had there. New tyres versus old tyres through the roller coaster section, and doesn't have to worry about DRS. I mean, he's got it, but I don't think he needed it. In the end, he's going to get the move done very, very easily in the end over Anthony Katz. Katz won't fight this at all. There's no point. Different races going on. Bernstorff makes his way back in a second overall. Effective race leader still.
Yeah, comfortable move, and it just shows the patience then from Emil Bernstorff, the way that he drives, a British categorized driver with Danish descent and German descent as well. He is someone who's really good in Formula 4, and this is what we've seen more and more when it's come to iRacing, Jay. More and more drivers using sim racing as a tool for drive development, because you don't get that practice all of the time. You don't have unlimited track time. So what's the best thing you can do? Have a game replicate it.
Exactly right, and it's been a great tool for drivers in all sorts of categories all around the world. So we've seen drivers in every category say how important the tool of sim racing is to them, and it's one that we love as well. So I think it's great that what other sport can you play for fun and match it with world's best in real world and world's best in the game as well. I don't think there's many others that you can... I can't think of anything. Yeah, that's about it. But they're going to absolutely smash you. I don't think you can just be world's best at just that. If you're world's best at that, you're world's best at real world as well.
Exactly, and that's where we talk cycling, Jay, and we talk about an Australian rider called Jay Vine, who made his way through Zwift up through. As we watch Darren Parker now on the back of Walter Lux, it's United Kingdom versus Austria, and it will be the United Kingdom who come through with the overtake there. Thank you very much, as easy as you have it. But Jay Vine, someone who came from Zwift and is very, very electric right now in cycling.
Well, there you go. I'm not too up with the cycling. I watch the Tour de France when it's on, but that's about all I get involved in. Saying that, we do have a big, huge international Madison race here in my home city every year, and I've never been. I probably should go.
Probably should. You'll definitely enjoy it. Ken Nielsen, by the way, having made his stop, finds himself behind Paul O'Regan, and Paul O'Regan has had a fantastic race for not really being seen on a show at this point in time. He's someone who's just got about his business, just put the laps together, and look at what it's rewarded him. At the moment, 7th place. These are huge points that he'll be taking away from this one if he can keep it going between now and the end of this race.
Exactly right. He started in 14th position, now up into 7th. I mean, that's just as much about just keeping the car on track and racing smart as anything else. I mean, he probably won't fight this at all, you would guess. Kent Nielsen, he'll open the...
On the radio saying you can have it.
Yeah, so Nielsen now gets the DRS open, and I don't think he was too stressed about even opening the DRS there, Kent Nielsen, so he's already straight on the harvest. One thing I was going to say, when we were on board earlier with Bernstorff, you saw when he was coming down the back straight, he dropped it back from 8th gear back to 7th, even though they were still flat out down the straight. The reason they do that is they can actually harvest more battery in 7th gear than you can in 8th. So you'll see drivers throughout the season drop back from the top gear of 8th back to 7th. The reason they do that is for harvesting of energy and conserving battery and gaining power back. Lead. Oh, wow.
Last lap, Emil Bernstorff took 2 seconds out of James Dempster, who is trying to extend his range out to have a comfortable, soft compound tyre to finish out this race. Now, he's not going to make the move here at this roller coaster section, but watch how much he can close up under brakes and have much more grip through this section. He'll be able to chase down towards the hog pen, the final corner out on track. This fantastic commitment right corner, and he will just have the drive. James Dempster knows it in the number 8. He says, you've got it on the inside. And Emil Bernstorff then, going on to lap 36, will reclaim the race lead here at the Grand Prix of Virginia.
Nice move to get it done in the end. Dempster, he's actually done a brilliant job considering he's still on the mediums. Okay, so he's coming in for the second set of mediums, second set of softs or second set of mediums,
Soft.
one or the other.
Should be softs. We'll see what this is from Gronkowski.
Will he get 23 out of softs?
Yeah, I think he could. That's what he's going for. Now, you have to remember as well here, Jay, that the longer that this race goes on, the less fuel they actually have in the car. Because of that, there's going to be less of that lateral grip that you go through, or that scrubbing of the tyre. You've got a lighter car, you've got a more nimble car, you're actually putting less effort on the tyres.
Yeah, I continually forget that they don't refuel the cars anymore. So, you can go longer on the softer tyre later in the race than you can at the start. So that makes perfect sense. But Dempster's done well, the only driver to make this length on the medium tyre.
Yeah.
Dempster, Cat, and O'Regan, the only drivers yet to change tyres from their starting tyre, but Cat and O'Regan both started on hards.
James Dempster having a fantastic laugh with Emil Bernstorff. The least you could have done on that straight was giving me DRS, he says. That's just how much his tyres are struggling right now, and he'll continue on for a 37th revolution of this Virginia circuit. And of course, when it's talk about the next round of the championship after this one, Jay, we're heading to, I think, a cult classic when it's come to the iRacing and the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series and subsequently the Grand Prix Tour, Phillip Island.
I guess that's my home Grand Prix, we would have to say, yeah. I'll go down to the real one on the Friday practice day in 2 weeks' time. But you can catch it with us in a couple of weeks in Phillip Island. It's a cool track, and you're right, it had so many epic battles back in the old iRacing Grand Prix World Championship days. So it should be absolutely brilliant to watch. I'm looking forward to it. I've never ever commentated or broadcasted a Formula style car race at Phillip Island. So it's going to be very, very cool to watch. Going to be very, very entertaining to commentate and broadcast.
I'll tell you what, from experience, it's an absolute treat. And you're going to get that then in a couple of weeks' time. John Gronkowski, by the way, as we focus on James Dempster in second position, has caught the back of Kent Nielsen. And now this is going to be a difference maker. How much grip do you have in terms of the levels? The race for 6th place on. And look at this, snaking through up at the South Bend, looking to try and get some run and get some angle. Not going to find it just yet, but at this section of road, you're going to have to really try and mastermind the overtake here. Going on to Madison Avenue, he's got himself in range. He's got the green light on the dash. That will tell him that he's got enough. Watch for the flap open. Now, watch this one. Just ratchet through. There's a defense there. There's a big defense there. Oh, there's tire-to-tire contact. They both keep it together on the road, but that could have been both drivers done and dusted at that moment in time.
Wow, that's huge. Anthony Catt has just come into the pits. Walter Lux is in the pits, but wow, that could have been race ending for both of them. Kent Nielsen did bring it across to try and cover that position, but yeah, there almost wasn't enough room.
Coming
but
back.
Here he comes back.
Who said you need 19 cars to make a race? I'll take these 9 any day of the week. Look at that. Jordan Gronkowski holds. Kent Nielsen. Oh, they both still have a race, but not by much.
No, and they've got to be careful because if they continue to fight, they'll allow Walter Lux on his new, fresh, soft tyres to catch up to these guys as well. And have a look at the gap that Anthony Catt has pulled on these guys. 1 stop versus 2. He's got 7 seconds on them just from that 1 less stop as James Dempster's around.
Oh, no, not there either. That's not a place you want to have that happen. That's just coming out then of the roller coaster, and that is just a snap on power trying to get that turn through. He's kept it out the barriers, but it's so easy to do, and that might be his biggest indication. I've got to come down in and make a stop so they can see just down the hill, boom.
Oh.
That is a scary thought to have when you're trying to put the power down at 130 kilometers an hour plus. As Darren Parker's gone through, that's Marcel Fassbender gone.
Wow, Fassbender now out as well. This race has just what curveballs we've seen in this race.
Reminds you of a classic Formula One race, the attrition rate here. You can see he just gets out on the grass and bang, straight into the wall. Marcel Fassbender, number 1, needed to really make something happen today. You'd say he was one of the title contenders coming into this one, and he doesn't get what he wants. So 25.9 second lane time, 4.2 seconds in the box for James Dempster, and he will come out after that spin, not a million miles away from Anthony Catt. We do have a great race on our hands. Lux, Reagan is there as well, and has Anthony Catt made a mistake?
He must have... No, remember, he's just come out on those soft tyres.
No, he's had a spin at the oak tree.
Yeah, he has had a spin.
So Anthony Catt now on the softer struggle. He's just overcooked it into the corner, and he has hit the barriers. He's both put tail and nose into it, but he's still got a car to go on with that race. But, oh my goodness me, this podium has chopped and changed, and John Gronkowski currently holds it. There's the issue God, Anthony Catt, you don't expect him to make too many mistakes.
Oh, and then he hit the tyre bundle again as he's trying to flick spin it back around the right direction. So he'll be ruining that he's ruined. That's not a pun. That was not intended. He'll be ruining that he's ruined these soft tyres as well because they'll now be hyperheated. Going to have to struggle with them to bring them back down. Has he got front wing damage? The thing that I was concerned about was that flick spin where he's re-hit the tyre bundle that second time around. But what a battle we've got now for 5th. We've got a true 3-car fight as Paul O'Regan decides, yeah, 40 laps is enough. I'm coming in and getting some fresh tyres.
Well, he had to pit at some point. 40 laps he goes through. He's got 2 laps on Craig Lager, so he's seen where the front or his next battle is. He's got an entire pit stop to bring that back, and he will also go on to what is the Redwall soft compound tyre to go through. Dempster, Cat, Lux. And let's not forget, James Dempster is not a million miles away. He's only 5 seconds back, really, of Kent Nielsen. 4 seconds back now as things stand. So this is definitely not a race that's over and done with. James Dempster's got eyes on a podium still.
100% he does. I mean, he's shouldn't have too much issue closing that gap down to Kent Nielsen based on pace now. I mean, Dempster had really good pace on the other tyres, and now on the mediums that was, and now on these softs, his first flying lap now. But have a look at Walter Lux through. I think
332.
Yep. And
wow. And Anthony Cat only had 290 on the straight there.
Yeah.
That is a stark, I would say, contrast. 40 Ks on that straight difference. That shows you how strong DRS is.
During that DRS range, purple sectors for Walter Lux. That's how much pace he had there. At 1 minute 21.
Oh, he is rocketing. Gronkowski, by comparison, a 22.8. He's got a second on Gronkowski in third. He has got so much pace right now. Emil Bernstorff, by the way, is only doing 23.2s. Walter Lux might be driving himself towards a podium here in what is a very important run of his race at this point. They rush through the snake then for the 41st time in this one. They're really going to have to start managing what they need to do, because this is still going to be a very tough last 17 laps of the race where you don't quite know who's exactly got what pace, and who's got what left to burn.
Well, Kent Nielsen's on the oldest of the soft tyres that are out on track at the moment, 11 laps old. Darren Parker, 10 laps old. Everyone else is single-digit lap consumption of tyres, but Jordan Gronkowski, 6-lap old tyres. Dempster, Lux and Cat, 4 and 3-lap old tyres. So not much difference in tyre life between Gronkowski, Dempster and Lux, but this is still well and truly on. These guys are pushing hard and trying to give everything to steal something at the end of the race. We've still got 15, 16 laps of racing left. This is going to be incredible.
And on top of that, you consider they're all pushing each other to the absolute limits. You also have to keep in mind here, Jay, that the more they push each other, the more likely they'll find a mistake. And this track has been ruthless on mistakes today. Just the 8 drivers on the leading lap.
Just think that if we were racing at the real-world circuit, which is very similar in width and segments of corners, if we put some walls on the exit, how bad would the attrition rate have been then? I'm glad the walls are a little bit more spaced out, but even still, the walls have bitten, even though there's runoff here.
Exactly, and this is what makes this circuit very Jeddah-like, is the fact that, yes, you do have runoff, but that runoff is grass and it pitches. This really is one of those circuits where they revitalized this in 2000. I think they did a stellar job of recreating it to be just as difficult as the original.
Yep, it's definitely always been one of my favorite tracks. Never heard of it until I joined iRacing, and for us in Australia, before we had Mount Panorama, this was the track that we used to replicate that circuit because it has elevation changes, 2 big long straights. It was as close as we could get, and we, of the older generation of iRacers, I can consider myself that, who grew up, it started on iRacing before we had Mount Panorama. This was as close as we could get, and we all loved this circuit. And a lot of the newer people that have come into iRacing hadn't had the love for this track like those of us older iRacers, yourself probably included, Sperry. But I think the rescan and the re-release has revitalized the love of this place.
Oh, I think it certainly has. And Jay, when you say you're an old iRacer, are you a 5-digit iRacer?
I am a 5-digit, yes. I'm a 6, number 6, 65 is my first 2 numbers of my iRacing ID, and yeah, I've only got a 5-digit number. Started back in 2011. So I've just I think my 12 years is up next week.
Well, you've got a lot more, you've got lots less numbers than me, I should say. I am a 6-digit iRacer, but I've got a 2. But I start with a 2. There are some accounts that I've seen looking to run leagues that start with an 8 now, which is like,
8.
God, how many accounts?
I know, it's scary. We're going to be in the 7-digit numbers soon. Won't be long. It's scary how big it's grown since we started in it. I mean, just seeing I started on
marker.
iRacing. Oh no, I started on iRacing. Yeah, he's just retired the car. I started on iRacing
no front
before we even had Okayama as a track, let alone a free track.
It's the oak tree again for Craig Lager, and it's once more the traditional, I've overshot it, I've gone in, and it's trouble there. I tell you what the oak tree section of track reminds me of, Jay. It reminds me of Mosport. It reminds me of Moss Corner.
Does have a very similar feel. I think just the camber probably a little bit different, but yeah, very, very similar. Oh yeah, that front wheel is not functioning too well.
It's off.
Yep.
And Craig Lark, who was 2 laps down, is now out of the race, which means there are 8 left in this one. And there is number 2, Emil Bernstorff, with an 18.5-second margin that he can now coast home in the final 14 laps. Don't do anything silly, and Emil Bernstorff will have his first win of the season here in the iRacing Grand Prix Tour.
Yeah, just got to keep it composed now, doesn't he? Doesn't have to do anything silly. Just has to continue to race on, race clean. I think the fact that he's on the hard tyre probably will psychologically stop him from pushing too hard as well. I think that's as much a psychological thing as a tyre conservation thing. Knowing that he's on the hards, knowing then, hey, I can't push too hard, I just got to be conservative and race this race sensibly.
Let's get a comparison then of the drivers 3rd through to 6th position. Gronkowski, 23.4 that last time by. Nielsen matched him almost with a 23.5. Dempster closed up the gap with a 22.9. Walter Lux closed that up with a 22.3. They're going to be all over Kent Nielsen in the next couple of laps, and it's going to be 2 drivers trying to find a way through.
Yeah, and we've seen that Nielsen doesn't like giving up positions. He doesn't want to let anyone go. So this is going to be a really interesting fight. And we've still got 13.5 laps to go, 13 laps to go now. So this is going to be so much fun to watch all the way to the end. And Darren Parker, for me, he's been the MVP of this race. He's done a brilliant job and just consolidating and holding 2nd position now. He's got a 20-second advantage. He doesn't have to look in the mirrors at all.
No, he doesn't. I tell you what, Darren Parker has driven a fantastic race, gained 3 spots on the opening lap. He hasn't looked back from taking the 2nd position in this one. There is Nielsen, there is Dempster on screen, and there'll be Lux just behind them. Both of them, within a second, they'll both get DRS then onto the front stretch to start their 46th lap of this race here at VIR. And Kent Nielsen will be looking behind, seeing those 2 drivers clawing up in the mirrors, and this will be a very nervous time for the Canadian, seeing both the Brit and the Austrian just behind, trying to find their moves up to get to 5th and 6th, well, 4th and 5th places respectively, past Kent Nielsen.
It's not going to be an easy overtake, though. This is going to be one of the more difficult overtakes they make. Now, the one issue that Kent Nielsen has as well, 16-lap-old tyres. We saw in the first phase of the race, the opening phase, that 16, 17, 18 laps on softs was about the limit. But as you said before, you can make the softs last longer when you've got less fuel in the car. Dempster, tell you what, he's on the limit.
I tell you what, he's more than that. He is trying to fang that machine through everywhere he possibly can. He will have DRS then on this Madison Avenue straight. And will he find the move then here on lap 46? He now looks to try and figure out what can he do. Where's he going to go? Is he going to go left? Is he going to go right? It's covered off. He's not close enough, but it brings Lux right up to the back as he goes through. Walter Lux. Oh, he's got a rocket ship and he can stop it.
He is flying, Walter Lux, isn't he? It's great to watch. This is going to be a great 3-car fight all the way to the end. We almost need more laps. I don't think 12 is going to be enough to settle this in the end between the 3 of them. I think 2 of them will settle. Here's the move, but where's Lux going to go?
Well, around the outside, we'll try James Dempster. Kent Nielsen's going to try and use all of his experience. Look at that. They almost interlock wheels off the exit. There's no drive for Kent Nielsen. He tries to block Walter Lux. He tries to go through on the inside. Nielsen now tries to attack around the outside. Brilliant stuff between the 3 of them. Dempster is through. Lux, you're going to have to be a bit more patient to find the pass now.
Yeah, I didn't think that was going to work. I thought that was going to end in tears for all 3 there at one point.
Oh, he's going to get him now.
Oh, no.
Oh, you don't do it now. He's in the grass. My word.
He's wanting this move done way too quickly, but I think the reason he wants it done is because you can see James Dempster broken away quickly. He's already pulled nearly a second.
And this is costing Lux's race, and he's going to have to find and overtake Deluxe to make this happen. He knows as well that it's going to be tough with Kent Nielsen most likely having DRS and does so. So they're going to be even on this straight. Lux, though, is a lot quicker. He'll move with the double DRS to the inside. It'll turn to the outside. Kent Nielsen's a bit late on the brakes and ultimately gets it stopped. Dempster very nearly found that he didn't have a rear right tyre in his race, but Lux again is going to have to find this boss. He's almost going to have to hope that Dempster breaks a second.
I think so. I think that the DRS is helping Kent Nielsen hold on to the spot for now, and I think it will again down the front straight. Did you almost flinch there when Kent Nielsen had locked that front? I thought that was going to be race over for all three. Again, this is incredible. This is nerve-wracking stuff to watch. I'm glad I'm on this side of the fence.
And all the while, Jordan Gronkowski now has a 6-second margin, and for James Dempster, he's going to have to get a move on within the final 11 laps of this race. If he wants to try and chase that gap down, he'll have to chase it over half a second a lap. But Walter Lux now still going to have to try and find a way through. And Kent Nielsen, it's about as difficult as Jacques Villeneuve to get by.
Yeah, very similar. Canadian. So, I thought Kent Nielsen was going to loop it there because he had two wheels in the dirt while he had his foot on the brake. That never works well, but he somehow pulled it up. Walter Luxo with the DRS now, and you can see Kent Nielsen, no DRS. This might be enough to get the move done. Nielsen will fight it all the way, though, but I don't think he can.
Oh, you can't get much closer than that. But Walter Lux gets forceful and says, that's my corner. You are not taking the roller coaster spot away from me. And Kent Nielsen gets shuffled out, and through goes Walter Lux into the top 5.
It was going to happen at some point. I'm just surprised it has happened without wheel-to-wheel contact. Now, James Dempster, 1 lap of fresh air.
8/10.
Gains 8/10. So this is on still.
4.5 seconds the gap between James Dempster and Jordan Gronkowski. A race on for the final spot on the podium. Jordan Gronkowski, the pace he's shown today, qualifying did not work out for him, Jay. This is a tough circuit to really get anything out of when qualifying doesn't work well for you. But to get a podium away from today, I think is great damage limitation from a driver whose iRating effectively disguises just how great of a driver Gronk is.
100%. We saw last round he had some great pace, and today he's just been able to use that pace. But is he going to be able to hold on for a podium? That's going to be interesting. It was 4.8 at the start of the lap between them? It's now 4.3.
That's another half a second, and that will be the turn up the wick. You are going to be reaching the heat very, very soon, Mr. Gronkowski, if James Dempster has anything to say. And let's not forget, Walter Lux was quicker than James Dempster, so he could have something to say about this towards the latter stage of the race if he can close down the gap as well. Gronkowski over the line, 23.6, 23 flat from James Dempster, 23.3 from Walter Lux, couldn't quite match. But James Dempster's doing all the right things. He's just got to chip away at it, give himself a chance by the end of the race. 4 seconds now, the margin, and it is 9 laps to go here at the Virginia International Raceway.
And my maths isn't the best, but with 9 laps to go, if he gains 6-7 tenths of a second, that means that he's ahead with 1 lap to go. So at the current pace, he's going to be there with about 2 laps to go. We're going to see a great fight all the way to the finish between Gronkowski and Dempster based on the current pace.
And it's going to be about who wants it more at this stage of the race. It's who wants it more, because both these drivers deserve that podium the way they've driven. Dempster started the race in 10th, Gronkowski in 16th position on the grid. And this has effectively been the day where it's all about surviving, all about trying to get what you want. There's a reason as well here, Jay. They sometimes call this place VIR America's Green Hell.
Yep, it's definitely can bring about driver errors like Green Hell can. It does force something in your brain just to switch off. I think it's probably the fact that the one long straight is the only place that's straight, but even then you don't get a chance to take your breath or catch your breath because you're still worried about the camber change and things like that on the road. The front straight, well, it's not a straight. you're turning the wheel the whole time, so you don't get a chance to breathe, you don't get a chance to relax. I think that's probably what we're going to start seeing over these last 8 laps, is the fatigue levels really starting to kick in for the drivers.
Just 0.2 of a second for James Dempster that time. Not enough, but Walter Lux found 0.3 of his own, chased down half a second to James Dempster. So it might be a case of we might not be looking at a race for a podium potentially. We might be looking at 4th and 5th, still yet to be decided then here in this one. All the while, this happens 40 seconds off of your race lead as things stands, which has been wonderfully constructed by Emil Bernstorff at the front. For Gronkowski, Dempster and Lux, they know they've got to go, but Dempster's done what he's needed to on this lap. He's found the half a second he's needed to. The gap is 3.4.
And Lux has found a tiny little bit more as well, so he hasn't found a huge amount, but if he can find 0.2 on Dempster and Dempster finds half a second to 0.6 of a second, that puts pretty much all 3 of them together at the end of the race. So this is game on for the final podium spot. You feel this is not done. You can't you can't start engraving the trophies yet. I got it out.
You did, and I'm sure we'll get the engraving out soon enough. Kent Nielsen, by the way, will very comfortably be in 6th position. Anthony Catt will very comfortably be in 7th. There is your contrast to car number 2, Emil Bernstorff, out there at the front of the field, almost 23 seconds worth of margin at the front, and just proving just how talented of a driver he is. And that's the sort of gap we saw the top 2 in the opening round of the championship, Jay, have on the rest of the field. He's showing he's got very similar pace to the likes of Ugo Lossi and the likes of Ben Fuller. He's up there. He could challenge for a title if the schedule matches up for him.
100% could. And I think it's going to be very, very interesting when we get to a track that probably will equalise the field a little bit more at Phillip Island, I feel. It's be a lot shorter lap time, a lot shorter lap distance. So I think it could be the great equaliser in this series next round. So it's going to be a fun one in 2 weeks' time. But have a look at that gap. Gronkowski to Dempster is down to 2.8. But Walter Lux has lost a little bit of ground on this one.
Yeah, you can tell that Dempster's starting to push, and Walter Lux can only find the level that he can. This is an important phase now with 6 laps to go. Gronkowski 23.5 over the line. Lux, for comparison, did a 23.1. 23.1 from James Dempster. So 0.4 of a second then is all that we see in terms of that move. But it is close, 2.9 over the line. It's really starting to get into that very, very important critical phase where every corner now needs to be maximised. You can't afford any small mistakes, any small hit of the curb, any slight twitch of the steering wheel. You're looking for your best laps. You're asking for qualifying laps, basically, from all 3 of them.
Now, you were saying about pushing. Watch this. This is our 2nd place car of Darren Parker. This was an almost oh no moment for him.
Turn 1. Oh, back end. Oh, that would have woken you up a little bit, Darren. That would have given you a little bit of a scare. You remember where you are. You're at VIR. This track will take it out of you when you least expect it. 23 seconds to the car, 25 seconds out to the car in front, 14 to the car behind. Darren Parker, wake up, sunshine. Gap 2.7. Gronkowski is responding. He is doing just enough.
Yep. And I think just is probably the right word. He's not doing over. He's just doing the exact amount he needs to do. He's pushing the exact level he needs. He only lost 0.3 that time. But have a look behind. Lux gained a full second on Gronkowski and is now back in DRS range. So the battle may not be for 3rd and 4th, as you said before. It may be for that 4th and 5th.
Walter Lux did a 22.6 that last lap by 0.6 of a second on James Dempster. He is going to give him a race, and I think that's going to be the key. These two are going to have to push each other forward here, and maybe they're going to have to cooperate slightly if they want a podium. Is 4th place bigger than the 3rd that they want? That's going to be what they're going to have to ask each other here with 5 laps to go. Up then at the Oak Tree corner, they'll come along once again on their 54th drive around this circuit. Down the hill now they will charge at Madison Avenue, and you can sense no DRS there for James Dempster. How much will Walter Lux charge? The answer is he is going to harvest the battery as Walter Lux all the way down the straight. He's not going to go for the move.
Have a look at the gain under brakes, though. Even still with that big harvest, he gained three odd tenths under brakes. So Walter Lux is closing that gap down. I'm guessing that lap previous where he gained that second, he'd used a lot of battery to try and close that gap down. And I'm thinking James Dempster may have done the same thing. He may have just conserved battery on that lap. Now with 4 to go, he's going to start pushing again. Close it down to 1 second with 1 to go, and then might have a lunge right on the last lap.
Gap then between third and fourth comes down once again. It's now sitting at 2.4 seconds. It is closing and closing. The first sector is where it's really falling away the most. You see half the time again. Now down to just under 2 seconds now. 1.8 now for James Dempster. He knows that Walter Lux is there. He's going to have to motor. And this is where you're starting to sense, okay, Jordan Gronkowski, look behind in the mirrors. This is where the race is starting to get itself rather interesting out there at this point. We are heading to 3 to go with Emil Bernstorff, but it's on for the podium now, and I think now more than ever, I think proves it. Look at that gap come down. It's now 1.6, 1.5. Dempster's finding a magical lap time. Yeah,
this may be one of the fastest laps of the race. Looking at the sector times, it's no purples, but there's a couple of green sectors in amongst this. So I'm going to guess this will be a 22.7, 22.8 here. We'll see what the actual lap time is when he crosses the line. I don't think we're going to see a new fastest lap from him, but it'll definitely be an improvement on Gronkowski.
Well, that's all he's got to try and beat is the car in front. Gronkowski sets a 24 flat, so he lost half a second on that lap. Dempster found 6 tenths, a 22.8. A 22.8. He is in range with 3 laps to go. Suddenly, we've got no idea how this podium sits. Jordan Gronkowski's going to have to try and find the wick here. And how much battery was he saving on that lap there, Jay, to give himself something to fight with in the final 2 laps?
I think he's saved a lot of battery. I think he had no choice. He knew what was going on behind him. He knew that there was big saves going on, but now the downfall to that is he's left the door open, and now DRS potentially available. Let's jump on board and see if we can see the green light just in the braking zone into turn 11. Will that light up? Yes.
It will. And that is trouble for Gronkowski.
Oh.
Missing the apex! Dempster slides! How has he saved it? And Walter Lux now trying to find a way through. He's given no room at the end. And all of a sudden, that one mistake has turned it from a race for third to a race for fourth. James Dempster, eyes bigger than the belly at the oak tree.
Wow, we didn't see that, did we? We thought that that was then going to be battle on, game on, but it's turned the other way. Wow, that was not on the cards. It was not in the expectation manual. And now,
but here comes Lux.
Lux is now well and truly in it.
He's got a great run as well. He'll have to go to the outside compared to James Dempster. Has he got enough under brakes? Dempster covers off the line of the inside, runs it deep. Lux can try and sneak underneath, and
beautiful.
will do so, and will take 4th place away.
Beautiful move. Well done from Walter Lux to get that done. Now, has Lux got enough pace to be able to get up there to Gronkowski with 2 laps to go? But have a look at this uncharacteristic mistake. The first one we've seen from him pretty much all day.
One small mistake from James Dempster. He had one spin earlier on, which dropped him a little bit back down the order. But look at that. Big snap going through the corner. And he's very fortunate there. He didn't push off Walter Lux through that section. Emil Bernstorff starts the final lap then here of this race at the Virginia International Raceway. He has been faultless so far today as he rounds his way through the opening corner, out on circuit and into the NASCAR bend here at turn number 2. For James Dempster in this race, he's not got much of a margin here. He's going to have to really work to close it down. I think Walter Lux is a bit too far away from Gronkowski. He's going to need a mistake out of the number 14 to make something happen. And watch out for instant points through the final stage of the race. Bernstorff now flying up through. We'll get both of the looks then on screen. Your leader on the bottom, your race for 3rd, 4th and 5th on the top, as Walter Lux on the final lap will have to chase down a gap of 1.8 seconds if he wants that 3rd place. It's not impossible, but improbable. For Emil Bernstorff He knows that this is a kickstart to the season that he has absolutely looked for. He has never looked in doubt since the opening corner of this race when Merchant and Fassbender found themselves off the road. He has walked away from everybody else today in this field on the one-stop strategy, and he has proven to everyone else that it's not going to be a two-horse championship. There's a third horse that came to play. Emil Bernstorff will come to the line, and he will win the Grand Prix of Virginia, and he will do so in style at over half a minute's gap. We will look back to third. Darren Parker will take second. Gronkowski with a mistake, and this is big because Walter Lux, has he given himself enough room on the final lap to take this third position away? Gronkowski is struggling, and Walter Lux has a chance to take this place away. Will he have a chance when they reach the roller coaster? He's not in position. He looks. There's nothing there. He needs some help at the hog pen if he wants to get this sorted. There's Darren Parker. He'll finish second. But Jordan Gronkowski, I think, is counting his lucky stars as he will come to the line and hold the podium. It'll be close as they get there. Couple tenths. What a race.
Wow, what a finish. Congratulations. I think Gronkowski had nothing left there. What an end to the race. And I also noticed Darren Parker almost looped it on the last lap as well, so he almost threw it away. But congratulations, Emil Bernstorff. What a drive from him to finish that race off. The third, fourth, fifth, within a second, all three of them. So congratulations, guys, but well done to Bernstorff and well done to Parker.
Well done indeed. Emil Bernstorff with an incredible drive. Darren Parker as well. His second place finish. He will be so chuffed with that. Number 17 of 19 coming into this race and getting a great result out of it. The last finishers have gone over the line. So let's get a confirmation of results here from the Virginia International Raceway. It was a difficult race for a number of drivers, mainly because that's the qualifying standings that you can see there on the screen.
Let's try that again.
So, let's try that again.
There we go.
Emil Bernstorff then picked up the victory. 1 hour, 21 minutes and 20 seconds, won by a gap of 32 by the end over Darren Parker. He pretty much said that Virginia International Raceway was his track. Jordan Gronkowski, was he so thankful for James Dempster's mistake with a couple of laps to go. It gave him just enough gap to hold off Walter Lux and James Dempster, fourth and fifth, those drivers finishing by a second. Kent Nielsen would end up sixth, and the last finisher on the leading lap would be Anthony Catt, 1 minute and 9 back in seventh position, and the last finisher in the race would be Paul O'Regan, a very handy 8th place finish, and he will take those points every day of the week when it comes to the back end of the championship. Drivers, though, out of the race. Craig Lager, number 1, Marcel Fassbender. He needed that one today, and it hasn't quite paid off for him in the immediacy. So too, Danilo Sanfilippo, Timothy Vaughan, Marco Sanfilippo. A crazy 3-lap stretch where we lost 4 drivers in 4 separate incidents. Adam Merchant was joined onto that list. Kyle Boss, Hannes Schlegel found himself in trouble. So did Brian Molitor, Tobias Saal, and Jason Green on the opening lap, running into troubles here today at the Virginia International Raceway. Well, it's high speed in the terms of downforce. It's high speed in terms of the form of top speed when we reach next time out at Phillip Island. That'll be a couple of weeks away from today. And there is one Mr. Emil Bernstorff getting out the doughies there, Jay, on what is a huge race win.
100%. That's huge for him. Congratulations. He deserves to do some victory donuts because he dominated this race from start to finish. The only laps he didn't lead were during the pit stop phase. So when you do that, I think that's usually a pretty good result.
It certainly is. And we will see those next results in the next few weeks. And it will be Phillip Island 2 weeks from today that you'll want to check that out. For those on the European Peninsula, it is 8:05 GMT where we check that out, the 31st of March. For those over in Australia with normal broadcasting, it's 6:05 in the morning, and April Fools, welcome to your Phillip Island Grand Prix. But a massive thank you has to go to everyone who has been out there racing and everyone who has been watching at home for SimSpeed TV's coverage here of the iRacing Grand Prix Tour. The Virginia International Raceway ends up as Emil Bernstorff's. He completely dominated proceedings from start to finish. It never looked like it was in any doubt. But Phillip Island will come along next time out. The two big names might want to get back into the fray. The 4-drop rounds will come in handy between now and the end of the season, and we've got a real showcase of a championship on our hands. Who will take the title come the end of the season? We won't know, but 2 weeks from now, we know that round 3 at Phillip Island, the Australian Grand Prix, is going to be a spectacle.
World of Outlaws Dirt Racing is available now. Download your copy today.